Hello everyone, my name is Henry Dixon. I'd like to welcome you to this online course, winter semester 2011 at Southeast European University. The course is called ELT Methodology, English Language Teaching Methodology. A little bit about me. As I said, my name is Henry Dixon. I've been teaching at this university since it opened 10 years ago, and prior to that I have a fair amount of teaching experience. I began teaching language. Actually, my first teaching experience was in 1988 in China. Since then, I've taught in several different parts of the world. I've taught in Asia and South America and Europe and also in the United States as well, which is where I'm from. And now, in the last 10 years, back in Europe, in Macedonia. This is a brief introduction to the course. We're going to talk a little bit about the course syllabus, not in too much detail. You'll find all the information you need, including, well, everything discussed in this presentation, in Libri, which is going to be your main source for information during this course. Everything you need to know, you can find out through Libri. And as you can see on the screen, if you have any questions, you can always contact me directly. I've listed my email address, also my Skype username, and office hours. Well, they're not physical office hours, but office hours online. I'm available just about any time, but I would appreciate very much if you need help or need to speak with me directly on Skype, for example, that you arrange a meeting rather than just dropping in anytime. Let's talk a bit about the course. The course is for teachers and for people who are planning to be teachers. It's designed to encourage those of you who are foreign language teachers to become informed about what you do, and not only become informed, but to become reflective teachers. In other words, I want you to not only know what you should do, but why you should do it. We'll look very much at the historical context of language teaching, and we'll also look at a bit about the roles of teachers in the past, the roles of teachers in the present, and the roles of teachers in the future. And from then we'll talk a bit about different methods. We don't start out with methods for the very reason that you shouldn't see a method as what you should do necessarily. We should see a method as a product of what you're doing. And by this I mean, you as teachers know what you should do. You know what works best with your students. The point of a method is to help you, to give you ideas, and to help you see what it goes into deciding what you're going to teach. So we're not looking at methods as ways to teach, as much as ways to look at teaching. And we'll talk a great deal about methods. But then we'll move on to what's called the post-methods era, which is what we're in, according to many people, what we're in right now. And that is an era where we don't think so much about methods, but we think about what we should do without methods. We see methods as something that contain us, and we want to see methods as something that we can use, but not something that can control us. And the point of this, is, as I'll read here, is hope through an open-minded approach to the study of methods and methodology, course participants will gain a more objective approach and be better equipped to teach without predisposed bias towards traditional, commonly accepted, or fashionable practice. That's the most important part of the description right there. The course, as I said, is on Libri, and what you see now is information you need for using Libri. There's the address for Libri, and the person you should contact, Monica, if you have some problems with Libri, and of course, if you have any problems with any of the above, you can always contact me. The course objectives. This is very similar to the course description and what I've mentioned before, but basically, at the end of the course, during the course and by the end of the course, you should be able to discuss prominent events in the history of English language teaching and understand the significance of these events in terms of current practice. You should discuss classroom interaction, the roles and interrelationships of participants in the learning process. These participants are the teacher, the students, and the material. You should objectively reflect on, critique, and analyze your own teaching practice. This is very, very important. You should know what you're doing, why you're doing it, but if you can't see what you're doing because you can't see yourself, then you don't have much chance of evaluating it. You should honestly reflect on and evaluate your role as an agent for social change in modern society. This is quite not a lofty objective, but it's quite an ambitious one. And we'll touch on this quite a lot. It's rather controversial, but I think it's important that you see yourself, no matter what you do in your life, as having an effect on others and as somehow indicating, reflecting your own views on society and how society should develop. The course requirements. This will take more time. You need to sit down and read this a bit more. But again, this is an online course, so using the internet, using Libre are vital. And this is how we communicate. This is how we discuss. This is a list of the different weeks. Each week is, as you can see, there are 15 weeks in this semester, and each week is considered one module. And you'll see this term week and module used interchangeably and during this presentation and also throughout the semester. Basically, you can think of it either way. You can think of week 1 or you can think of module 1. And this is a list of the things we'll be covering. And here's the assessment and grading. Everybody always wants to know about this right away. Quite simply, the scale is the same as everybody else we use here. You have 5 is failing and 10 is outstanding, excellent. And somewhere in between is okay, okay to really okay. In fact, very good. I wouldn't worry so much about the grade. You should worry about what you learn. The overall grade breakdown is based on the following components. You have online participation in class and discussion in set forums, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. You have web blogs, which in parentheses you'll see journals, and we're going to speak about that in a moment too. The other parts are reflecting and writing assignments, 20%. You'll have 2 of these, each worth 10%. A video observation, worth 15%. There will be several video observations, there'll be 3 actually. And the last video observation you'll do will be evaluated. You'll have a checklist, things you're looking for, and you'll then give your evaluation, write it up, and send it to me for a grade. Finally, we have the final exam, which again will be taken online. Moving on. Libre's been mentioned 10 times so far in this presentation, but it's because it's where everything happens. It's our classroom. Each week, for every week, you have a module, and every module has a folder. Inside that folder, you'll find a learning guide, and this is where you should go first. The learning guide will give you the information you need for what to do that week. That's the first place you should go, every week. There will be a Dropbox in that same module, and this is where you submit your assignments. Each week we have a discussion forum. Now, one thing about online is we don't really have a chance to talk, so this is where we communicate. And I'll talk more about this in a moment in more detail. Every week, I'll post 2 podcasts. One podcast will be a response to the discussion that week of the group. All of you will be communicating with each other in these discussion forums, and I'll weigh in at the end with my comments and reflections. The other podcast you'll see will be an introduction to the next week's module, the assignments. A brief introduction to the reading, sometimes a bit more. Maybe there'll be something that's not contained in the reading that I feel like we need to cover, and there'll be a short lecture on that. Discussion forums are structured events. Everyone has to participate. A group of you will be responsible for meeting online or face-to-face if possible to put together some questions and post. The rest of the group, we were responsible for answering these questions, responding to them, responding to each other. And at the end of the week, the group that posted the questions will then do a summary. The summary will then be written down and sent to me for a grade. And this is just a brief overview. I'll give you more details as we move along. Now, back to Libre again. You must check Libre regularly. We expect it a couple times a week. You'll be checking Libre and keeping up with things. You should make a note of the last thing written on this page, which is please follow formatting and style guidelines on Libre. Again, everything's on Libre. Okay? And if you can't find it on Libre, ask. It maybe won't be there. We need to put it there. But very often it's there and you just have trouble finding it. Please stay in touch. Don't assume something will be sent to you. If you can't find it, then you need to ask. Very important, no late assignments, please. There are, of course, excuses. Some things happen we can't anticipate, but I prefer not to have any late assignments. Keep everything moving. It's a very busy course. Every week you have something to do. If you get behind, it's very difficult to catch up. Now, I mentioned before, we have web blogs, and I don't know if any of you ever blog. It's great if you do. I'm new to it myself. I've just started, but I'm really intrigued by this. I've followed blogs before, but never had my own. I have my own, and you will too soon. You will have, during the 3rd week, the 3rd module, I will show you how to set up a blog. It's free, and it's a place where you can post anything you want, and you can even customize the site somewhat to look the way you want. And during the semester, you'll be required to post 5 blogs. You can respond to each other. I hope it stimulates a conversation, but I won't evaluate your responses. I'll simply evaluate your entries on the blog. Now, these blogs will act as an online journal. Essentially, without going into too many details, what I mean by that is this is a chance for you to express your point of view. During the discussion forums, you will of course have your own point of view, but you'll be talking specifically about the readings, the methods, whatever it is we're talking about that week. The blogs are a chance for you to go off on your own a little bit and look at what you think is interesting. You could reflect on the course, on what you're doing now, if you're teaching now, on your learning experience, anything you want. And as you'll get into it, you'll see this is something different from discussion forums. This is something more personal and I think more dynamic. If you need to contact me, as I say, I'm available, but you have to give me time to respond. When you hand something in, within 2 weeks, you should have it back. But at the same time, I will, when I give an assignment, I'll tell you when you should expect to have the graded assignment. As I mentioned before, you can feel free to contact me by email or on Skype for any questions or issues that you have regarding the course. Finally, I'd like to thank you for your attention. This has been a brief presentation of the syllabus, but the syllabus itself is much more detailed. And when you read the syllabus, there's something else you'll find in the learning guide for Module 1. Remember, go there first. You'll find there's a quiz on the syllabus. Some of the material in here will be on the quiz, but there's much more on the syllabus, so just by watching this presentation doesn't mean you've read the syllabus. Go and read the syllabus in detail, take the quiz, and remember that the syllabus is the starting point, and it's like a contract. If you don't read it and it's there, then you're responsible. You don't have to sign it, but by taking on the course, you essentially sign the contract. So, just finally, I'm looking forward to an engaging and productive and I think fun, enjoyable semester working together with all of you. And we'll see you online.